I laughed yesterday. The- my missus said, she said, I thought you were doing a podcast with Mike.
Yeah.
I got ditched for him to go and ride motorbikes on a flat track. She said, well, now you know how I feel. I hope you had
Mike's a number one.
I hope you had a good day.
It was a bloody good day. Yeah, like I mean, I haven't really been doing a lot of like I've never really grown up doing a lot of dirt bike stuff. So to go and do some flat track stuff's been really cool. It's just been uh just good to mix it up, I suppose, and get some other style of riding in, and yeah, finding it quite enjoyable to be honest. And it's like trying to learn something new as well, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, and it's it's so funny because it's whilst it's you think of it as something that will help you with the road racing and like my racing that I do, but all the stuff that you learn about road racing, so, like not sorry, not all of it, but some of it, particularly with body positioning and like what you learn about like with leaning the bike and all that kind of thing, it's opposite, you know, like you're sitting on the opposite side of the seat, you're pushing the bike underneath you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like trying to train your brain to think of it to do it the other way around's been been a bit tricky, to be honest.
There's I did a video on this a while back because we looked into it. I have a dirt background, flat track and motocross.
Yeah,
And the thing that flat track, I believe, does is, one, it gives you a really good feel for traction because, there's a lot of movement of the bike. You kind of get used to the movement, which you already have anyway.
sure.
But it builds that, I forget the actual
The
technical
actual.
term for it, but it's the fine motor skills around throttle control. So you can
Yeah,
make really fine adjustments rather than the big gross adjustments. So I think flat track is a throttle control refiner.
yeah,
And
yeah.
and then motocross, I think, is a front brake refiner.
Oh, yeah, right, okay.
Because you're braking in situations where the traction's not as good. It's not like bitumen, and you
Yeah.
get a lot of slip on the front, so you get those fine motor skills around brake control and brake release. So um, you know, a, just an average rider would get out on the track, and if the front slips, they're just going to release the brake fully, whereas
Hmm.
a supercross rider or a motocross rider probably can control that brake with more finer variation. So there's
Yeah,
definitely
right.
going to be an advantage.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I mean, like regardless of anything, it's just riding and being on the bike is good for you. You know, like
Yeah.
mentally, you know, you're constantly processing all the same stuff. You're thinking about traction, you're thinking about throttle control, you know, what you're doing with lean angle, that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's interesting. There is different, I suppose, skills that you learn you can refine by riding a different discipline. That's for sure.
Yeah. We can pick the dirt riders when they come to the school because you can see, they have some advantages or they have some real skills in certain areas. But man, their mentality is around loading the back, lightening the front. So
Yeah.
I was steering with the throttle, and yeah, it's that first habit we got to break. So it's interesting. Yeah. Huge weekend down at the Bend. I thought what I'll do is I made a bit of a summary of the races, and there was for you there was real pluses, and then then there was a big kick in the bum right at the end. But let me run through these anyway, and I want to get your take on these. In race one was more of I think they described it as a bit of a sprint race format. It was only 9 laps, the others were 11 laps. You were in pole, Waters in second, and Troy Herfoss qualified third. Solid start by Waters, and I think he had pretty solid starts the whole weekend. Made a jump on the field in this particular race, more so than the rest. Within 1 lap, you had caught right up. You were right up his ass there. Then the front four, which included yourself and Josh, Arthur CC's and Troy Herfoss, kind of pulled away from the rest. Herfoss crashed in lap 4 after setting the fastest time. You can see he was really committed to having a win. So Waters, Jones, Sissies held the first 3 positions until that last lap thriller. You passed Waters. It was in the third sector, and then got passed back straight away. Coming out of it before the next corner. But then you passed him on the inside again on the second last corner, and held it to win. Oh my God, what a race! How'd you feel about that one?
Yeah, that was a really good race. Win's always good.
Yeah,
It was good, but it was the most satisfying for me because even though we were able to generate like the same kind of lap times, and obviously we stayed together throughout the race. Like I said, like once was on the back of Josh, we were riding more or less together for the whole race. But it wasn't easy because I still felt like I had to ride, close to the limit to stay with him because he was setting a really good pace. But our bikes work so differently and make the lap speed around the track just completely differently. So I found like he was able to get really good on the exit and the good acceleration, and the way that nature of that track is that like was a big advantage for him to get the drive and run. Say on like it had quite a long straight, but even the bits in between the turns, it was able to punch in between those corners. And I found that my bike was quite good on the brake and the corner entry and mid turn, so really good entry and mid turn speed, and I could like sort of make that time back up again. But it was like, yeah, it was just like it wasn't easy to stay there. And I think Josh was putting in the good solid pace, throughout the race. And I felt like when probably in the past I might have tried to race him for the position like during the race, like through the middle of the race, tried to get ahead of him and control the race from the lead. This time I wanted to like sort of follow him for the whole race and see if I could get past him on that last lap like I did, just because I thought that it would be a benefit to me to sort of like learn where he was strong on the track, and where compared to where I was stronger, so that would help me for the next races as well. But yeah, look, as the race went on, I felt like with the way, even though it was 9 laps, that track seemed to consume the tire quite a lot, so you still have to manage it a little bit. So as the race went on, probably that last, I don't know, three or 4 laps or something, I felt like my bike was a little bit better than what his was, and I had a little bit of an advantage, so it got a bit easier towards the end. But yeah, the last sort of 2 sectors especially were my strongest part of the track.
Yeah.
Josh was really, really quick in the first and second sectors, and then I was quite quick in the third and fourth. And yeah, it sort of like worked out where I thought I could pass him. But when I first did the first pass on him up the inside on the brake going into one of the turns, I thought that was enough, But once he seen that I was going past him, he like really pulled on the brakes even more and like slowed his bike up a lot, and it helped him turn and go up the inside on the exit. So he got back past me straight away. But yeah, I was just able to, with that maneuver, like it upset the rhythm. So it meant that I could really be on his back wheel heading down into the second last turn. And when I went for a lunge on the brake into that turn, I made sure that I didn't go too far past, kept him on the outside so he couldn't like turn the bike back and go back up the inside of me. So was able to get the win in that race. And that was on Saturday, and that was like pretty crucial because from a points point of view, we went into the round with he was 26 points ahead heading into the round, and by getting pole position, I meant that I got an extra point for pole. So then we're heading into the first race, we were 25 points down, and then getting a race win over him meant that we were 5 points up again. So that I managed to bring it back down to 20 points at the end of Saturday. So that was kind of like, I felt like we had a bit of momentum at the end of that day. We had a really good day, with pole and a race win, and felt pretty confident for the coming races. But yeah, ultimately it was a really good sensation because, like I said, not only was it just that the difference in our bikes there, but also like the previous year, I'd kind of struggled there to be in the hunt for the race win and challenge for the lead. I was sort of running around third place mostly in the year previous. So I felt like we'd made a pretty good step forwards, both with my riding and also bike setup and understanding of the track and everything. So yeah, overall that was a really good day and a great result.
Yeah, it was awesome. Did the one thing you mentioned, like, your bikes generate speed differently. You do, on the first half of the corner, and he seems to be on the back half of the corner. It was very obvious on those straights, particularly down the main straight. You could see him pull away, but then you would get back within, one or two corners, you're back on his back wheel. And by the way, like it looked from our perspective, very like you were very patient on what you were doing because you could see where you were gaining on it. Did you feel as you went around that race that you were really in control, particularly towards, getting towards the last lap?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So, like I said in the beginning part, it was like he was setting a really good pace and he was super strong, especially when the tires were sort of fresher, you know. But yeah, in that back half of the race, that was something where I probably had a little bit more speed, but I didn't use it straight away. Like I didn't try, like I said, I didn't try to just go straight past him and maybe tow him along or show him where I was strong, you know. So yeah, I felt like I deliberately sort of sat there behind, watched,
Mm.
well, tried to wait till the right moment to pass.
Yeah, great strategy because man, it paid off. But then you went into the second race, which was 11 laps. Oh, I do have a question. Just cast back on the first one. The the first question is you were very close to him, following very close behind. Is tire temperature and tire pressure an issue for you following very close like that for a long period of time, like it is in MotoGP?
I personally don't notice it. I don't think so. Not for us. Doesn't seem to be. I don't seem to notice it being an issue.
Yeah.
So yeah, to me, it doesn't really matter that that I was behind and in the draft, and yeah, that seemed it didn't really be too much of an issue. But in saying that, I mean that weekend it was reasonably cool. Like the temperature wasn't super hot. You know what I mean? So um maybe because of the temperature as well, it didn't seem to present itself as an issue for the tire. Maybe if it was a really really hot day, then you might even make it worse if you're in the draft and that could overheat tire. But I don't think, yeah, I don't know why. I don't think for us with our speed that we're generating compared to MotoGP that it's an issue. Yeah, I think there's a difference there for sure.
Yeah. Um, Effect on tire choice because it was a 9 lap race versus an 11. How much does that affect at this track your choice on tires? And secondly, the tire management. Though you did mention you still have to manage the tires a little bit.
Yeah, so it's interesting. Like, I mean, it really depends on which tracks we go to and what type of surface the track is, as to like whether it uses the tire more or not. So, like some places we can go to, like say for example, Queensland Raceway, I think we do 16 laps around that track, and you don't have to worry about the tire at all. Like it's you nearly do the same lap time at the end as what you do at the start. Like it just doesn't seem to use a tire a lot, you know. And whereas at the bend, like when the track very first got made, it was super super abrasive on the tire. You don't understand to do about 2 or 3 laps on it, and it would chew the tires out. It's been I don't know 7 or 8 years since the track had been built, so I mean it's improved a lot. You know, tire life is much better. But in saying that, it still is one of the more abrasive tracks that we'd go to. So the difference between 9 and 11 laps wasn't really much. So in terms of tire choice, we ran the same for both races. Mentally, I was concerned about going from the 9 lap race into the 11 lap races. I wasn't sure how that would go, those extra few laps, whether that would make a big difference. In the end, I don't think it really did. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Didn't seem to really make too much. It was more that everyone's in the same boat, I guess, and once you've sort of got your bike in the window, then it's sort of whether you do 9 or you do 11, it's sort of more or less the same. So yeah, it wasn't too much change there it wasn't any change from a tire point of view, and there wasn't really any change from a strategy point of view either.
Yeah, interesting.
Hmm.
Um, let's go to race two. Race two, 11 laps. It was interesting because Waters and Herfoss had better starts. You ended up in third and Sissy's in the fourth, from that particular one. So he didn't quite get the start you got on the first one. By lap three, Waters had put a gap between himself and Troy. Ant caught up to the front four. It was interesting because, typically that four was getting away, but Ant caught up. Taparis crashed and the race was red flag with 3 laps completed. So we had a restart and it was designated for a 7 lap race. everyone started and in the positions they were on the track at the time of the red flag, I noticed. Waters led into the corner. Sissy's made an awesome start to follow Herfoss in third. Herfoss in third and Jones in fourth. Ant West well back on the start. He had a shocking start, even though he was well up on the finish there. Waters did not pull away so much this time, was interesting. Herfoss passed Sissy's at the end of lap 2. Ant West got up to 5th. On lap 5, you passed Sissy's into third, while at that time Herfoss did the fastest lap of the race. West passed Sissy's on the final lap to grab 4th. And Jones, final corner, passes Troy Herfoss for 2nd behind Waters. And it was interesting because that stopped Waters from winning the championship in that race. Because had he won it and you're in 3rd, it was more than 20 points. But I think this now created a situation of, and correct me if I'm wrong, a 0-point gap. So no, exactly. What was it? 25-point gap.
25 points. Yeah.
On the final one. Yeah, race. So you ended up in 2nd anyway. What was your take on race 2?
Yeah, that one was a little bit more difficult. For some reason, I didn't feel as good in that race as what I did the day before.
Yeah.
Just couldn't get going as easily as what I had done the previous day. So in that first part of the race before the red flag, like you said, like Josh he was gone. He put the hammer down and he started putting a gap in everyone. And so he was well up the road and I was sort of still there with Herfoss and Arthur and trying to basically find my way past those guys. But once I had the red flag and then restarted the race. So yeah, I started in 3rd place. And even same thing, I didn't really get away very well. Was trying to find my rhythm and get comfortable with the bike and stuff. But at this time, Josh didn't get away. He got away well from the line, but he didn't put the hammer down straight away.
It wasn't like the first race where he created that gap.
No. The first part of the race, he really just was able to get going and get away and put a big gap into us. So he sort of was at the front, but we were close enough to be near him.
Yeah.
I was trying to time my passes because I wanted to arrive to Josh, like more or less again the same type of thing on the last lap, and do a similar type of a pass because I felt like with the way, like with the way they were making the lap speed and stuff, if I was to be in front, I wasn't quick enough. Like I wasn't quick enough down the straight to be able to maintain it. So I thought that by passing on the last lap would be my best chance of winning the race. Because the run from the last turn to the finish line is very short, and I'd be able to manage that. But I passed Arthur and was on the back of Herfoss there. I was hoping to get past him a little bit quicker than I did, but he was actually really difficult to. It was really difficult to try to find a way around him because he was the way he was riding the turns. He was very, very late on the brake and changing sort of almost the shape of the turn. So it wouldn't sort of like apex the turn like in the middle of the corner and then sort of look to go to the exit. He'd sort of like blow past the apex and let the bike run all the way out to the exit and then sort of do the steering in the last part of the turning and finish off the turn way out on the exit. So it made it difficult because he was so strong on the way into the turn, which is the part that typically with my bike was really, really good. But when I got into the middle there and I was still behind him and he would sort of like, he'd be out quite wide, but he was able to finish off the turn and get back across into the track, and I was still behind him, so I couldn't find a way to go past. So that was really tricky, and I think it might have been the second last lap I found a way to go past him, but he passed me straight away, passed me back straight away again, and that was the key there. That like I needed to stay ahead of him to then try and catch. There was only a small gap up to Josh, but if I was going to have any chance of beating Josh, I needed to be able to get away from Herfoss and close the gap down to Josh. But Herfoss passed me back straight away. We lost a little bit of time in that turn, and then I was racing Herfoss for second. Which was a little bit of a shame because I need, like, again, in terms of the championship, like I needed to be winning every race to have any hope, you know what I mean, of keeping the championship alive. But I had a good battle with Troy then onto the last lap, and I felt like I did a really good pass in the last turn, and that brought me onto the straight in second, and yeah, came second for the race. But what it meant was that Josh was 25, had a 25-point gap on me, which if it was a normal circumstances, then he would have won the championship. But because I had won more races than him for the year at this point, it needed to go into the next race, and he needed to let's say in the last race I won the race and he DNF'd, and that mean we'd end up on equal points because he was 25 points ahead of me. Let's say I scored 25 points and he didn't score any, so then we'd be equal on points. That would mean that I'd win the championship because I had more race. They could do a count back on race wins, so that's why it went into the last race. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, anyway, it was only just a numbers game, really. So, but yeah, that was a tough race. It was challenging. It wasn't not that the race the day before was easy, but the race the day before seemed to be I seemed to have a little bit more control over it. Whereas that one, it was it was a little bit more tricky. So yeah, really difficult. Would have liked to have got a win in that one, but didn't happen.
Well, yeah, that's right. In race one, you were in the groove straight away. You could see it. Whereas
Yeah.
this one, you weren't in that groove in the first half. And I think
No.
you mentioned that to Chris, when he came up and talked to you at the end of the race.
Yeah.
But you could see you kind of fell in the groove towards the end. But I always wonder around, with Troy, do you think he was riding that way and had changed the shape of the corner on purpose because he knows where the strength of the Yamaha is versus his bike?
Yeah, probably. Yeah. I mean, Troy's like one of the best riders that there is. So, and he's very smart with watching and knowing that kind of stuff. So, I think that it's probably two things. One would be that he knows that if he was ahead of me, and he's going to try and stop that potential passing opportunity.
Yeah.
And the other thing might be that that was just a way that he was finding to make that bike work, like from a setup point of view, and the handling characteristics of that bike that he was riding might just be the way that he was able to find to make it go and generate that lap speed, So it might have been a bit unorthodox and not typically the traditional fast way of going around the track, but that's the way he was making it work too,
Yeah. It's funny because, I always watch Ant West and some of his overtakes. He changes the shape of the corner as well. He does those really tight lines.
Yeah.
Have you seen that?
It's almost mind bending. I've seen him do it. I've seen him do it once at Phillip Island in turn two. Just hugged a really tight line through turn two, and and going faster than the person that's on the outside. And I'm trying to work out how you
actually do that.
how you holding the tighter line with more corner speed and what seems like more lean angle. And no, I've seen it, and sort of wonder how he's making it happen.
He did it here. He did it at the last round.
Yeah, he did it at the one raceway in the last bend, the bowl, the same deal there, tight up the inside. Yeah.
Well, he did it here, and I noticed it in race 3. It was, oh my God, that line it seems to hold the exit. That's really stands out. So shout out to Ant West for showing us a new line through there. Addicted to,
that's how you pass, isn't it?
yeah, very cool. Race 3. So we've gone into race 3. As you said, there's a 25-point gap. It requires you to win and Josh to have a DNF in order for you to get a win on a countback. It was definitely your best start of the weekend. The lead four were Waters, yourself, followed by Pearson and Herfoss, and you were right up the arse of Waters, and then it happened. Right, and it looked on TV like you ran a bit wide into the right-hander. They suggested on the playback that you might have touched the rear wheel of Josh, but I'll let you comment on that in a second. So you're out of the race. You couldn't get started again, unfortunately. Pearson took the lead on lap 2, followed by Herfoss and Waters. Now, even though he had the championship, Waters looked very conservative versus his normal style. through that middle part of the race. And I saw at one point he did have a look backwards, and he would have seen Sissies behind him and not you. So that may have changed it, because then he picked up the pace a bit. With Pearson in front, there was only 1.5 seconds covering the first 8 riders. The times were in that middle phase a couple of seconds slower than normal. Lap 4, Herfoss passed Pearson for the lead. Lap 5, Waters passed Pearson for second. Lap 4, CC's passed Pearson for third. So he ended up wandering back a little bit in the field. Ant West got up to 5th on lap 9. And that was where I noticed, he took a tighter line to make that pass, but then he got passed back by Dunker. And Dunker took 5th and he took 6th. The final positions were Herfoss first, Waters second, and Sissies third. And I've got to do a shout out to the 2 privateers who are in the top 10, Lynch and Holding, both, privateer riders from South Australia, and, probably their home track, but man, they did well to get in the top 10. But that was it. That was my take on race 3, an unfortunate end for yourself.
Yeah. So that race, I was after having the previous race, you learn from the previous race, right? And I seen that Josh had made such a really good start. I knew that, and he was really strong in the beginning. So I wanted to make sure that didn't happen again. I wanted to be on the ball right from the beginning. So the start was really quite good. Like Josh's start was better, so he was in the lead, but I was right behind him. But I was pretty keen to latch onto the back of him and make sure that he didn't get away. And I thought about in this race, I thought that I might have been able to try to look for an opportunity early on to get to the lead and see if I could either pull away and get a gap, or at least manage it from the front this time instead. Because when I was behind Josh in the previous race, like having Herfoss and Arthur and these other guys around, like it affected my rhythm so much that I couldn't really get going. So I think I was thinking more about this one. I just wanted to try and get either follow Josh like really, really closely, or get in front and try and just like do my own rhythm, But so I was all over the back of him, and then we came to that. So it's about 2/3 way around the lap, and came into like short little straight, then tip into a right hander, and I honestly didn't feel like my speed was too much heading into the corner, or that I made any sort of error there, but. As we approached to the middle of the turn, towards the middle of the corner, which was sort of like too late for me to really react, I realized that Josh's speed had slowed, and like I said, I was already off the brake, so I wasn't, and I was closed throttle. I wasn't really, the rate of deceleration wasn't really much, and I couldn't really grab the brake at that point in the middle of the turn. So I just tried to lift my bike up just a little tiny bit, thinking that he was gonna tighten the line because we were in the middle of a turn. But it never really seemed to happen, and then I just actually ended up riding to the back of him. I don't know. I don't know what happened for Josh there. Like it seemed like he had maybe a problem. I don't know what stopped him from being able to get the line or carry the speed that he normally would. But anyway, it caught me out in the middle of the corner, and I tagged my front wheel on his back wheel, and that was it. No grip, and down the road. So a little bit disappointing, but disappointing. I mean, overall, from a championship point of view, like the reality was that we're just playing numbers, you know what I mean? And there needed to be a lot of luck to go my way for that anything to happen there anyway. But disappointing just from a weekend point of view, because obviously the team put in so much effort, and then with having a DNF in a race, it means that you don't place overall for the round. So that was a bit disappointing, and particularly when you had the potential, like the bike had the potential to challenge for the win at least. So and disappointing to finish the last race of the year not upright. So overall not awesome, but I suppose the positives were that I was like I just had a nice slide into the grass. Like there was no like I didn't get hurt or anything like that. Totally fine. The bike didn't flip and do anything that crazy. So fortunately, not a whole lot of damage to the bike. So a couple of positives there, but yeah, that was it. That was the end of the weekend. And I suppose, just very lucky that I'd scored enough points through the year to like maintain second place. You know what I mean? Like even with the DNF, was still able to hold on to second place for the year. And yeah, that was that. So yeah, there wasn't much more. Like there wasn't much more to say from it. Like I had a lot of hope and ambition to try to get a good result, but yeah, didn't happen. And I felt like it didn't happen like entirely because of something. If I crash because you're trying to ride too fast, and you make an error like that,
Yeah.
but it was an error where I couldn't react to the rider in front of me and it caused the crash. So it was just a little bit of it's a strange feeling. Like it's when you stuff it up on your own, well, then you just go, oh, well, I messed that up, you know what I mean? But yeah, when you get a bit caught out in the middle of the turn, yeah, it's a bit difficult. So yeah, anyway.
Yeah, it looked like he was a little bit slower than he had been previously too, and I don't know. I wonder if just his pace being slightly slower kind of caught you out generally anyway.
Yeah, well, looking back on it now, I'd say that, like from his point of view, he wouldn't have been thinking about trying to race probably for the win straight. Like he just needed to finish that race. So, he wouldn't have been trying to probably go as hard and as fast as he could. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
let's say, for example, the day before in the race one, where I followed him around for nearly the whole race, and like to me, the speed and the pace that we were going was like close to our limit. You know what I mean?
Mm.
But I suppose for that last race, like yeah, like I said, like with the points gap and everything, he just needed to stay upright and just finish. So the mentality probably wasn't there to push or anything like that. And I just didn't realize that, you know what I mean, in the middle of the turn. So
Yeah. Well, I saw at the start, Chris interviewed him and poor old Josh, he looked really nervous and like he was not himself. He was just, always found it difficult to talk, poor bugger. But he was feeling some pressure there or nerves associated with that race. But you're right, all he had to do was finish, pretty much. Did you think at any point in time, because you mentioned before that you wanted to get in front of him early, that might put some pressure on him, or what was your strategy around pressuring him?
yeah, more than anything was just that, like, I wanted to, I want to try to win the race. So I was more than anything was just for me to try and get some clear air and get into my own rhythm and see if I could, do something by leading the race rather than sort of being behind, and then yeah, wasn't really something that I suppose I thought about at the time. But yeah, I mean, thinking about it, if guys like Herfoss and Arthur or maybe even Westy are there and he's in that mix with them, well, then that creates more risk for him. You know what I mean? Because he's in a battle or whatever going on. So yeah, I mean, realistically, for me, the best chance in that race would have been to try and do that. So
Mm.
get to the front and get going.
Yeah, it was, but
You
not to
got to
be.
start right to be able to do that,
That's
though.
true. Well, the end of the year, it was interesting. I noticed 46 points round seven for you, matched your number.
There's something about
Yeah,
that, is there? There's something in
yeah.
the air.
I don't know. Not enough points. Maybe that's it.
Yeah,
Anyway.
that's it.
If you run through the top five, we ended up with Josh Waters won, 321.5 points. Mike Jones second with 276.5 points. Brock Pearson third. Max Stauffer fourth. And Ant West fifth. And then it goes on down the list. Look, awesome job. I don't think I think you really got to, take a lot of kudos out of it, for the way you rode and the way the team worked and everything. What's your plans now? What's in store for you between now and next season and then into next season?
Yeah, so normally, like, this is sort of like the off season for us, even though it's relatively short. We finish up, sort of in December, in November time, and then we don't race again until end of February is usually the first round. But yeah, got a couple of things coming up in December, so I head away for the Intercontinental Games. They're doing a championship. FIM are running a championship in at Jerez in Spain. So I'll be heading across there with the Oceania team. We've got myself, Max Stouffer, Tom Taparis, and Taylor Rolfe. We're riding in the Supersport category on the Yamaha R7. And then we've got the Yamaha R3 Supersport team, and that's just got to try to remember who's going who's going in the team. We got Cameron Swain, Archie McDonald, Jesse Stroud, and Tara Morrison. They'll be running in that team. So yeah, so we're heading over for this event. It's a team event, so it's a combined points tally. We do 2 races each over the weekend. So that's going to be really exciting. So that's happening on the last weekend of November. I think it's the 30th of November and 1st of December, I think it is. So that's something to look forward to. A different type and different style of a race and event type of event that I've ever done before. So working together with some of our best riders here in Oz and NZ, and it'll be really exciting. So that's coming up. And then when I get back from there, we'll head over to Taiwan. The California Superbike School are over in Taiwan, so we'll be there. I'll get to catch up with you on the be able to catch up with you over there on the bus or
Not going.
You're not going this time. Oh no, why not?
Just the travel and combination with work. I got it's been so much travel this year with mine that
no, fair enough.
one.
I was expecting you to be there, but
I wanted to, because that bus ride is a ripper. And I always had this, like I think I told you last time we were there, I rode behind you for a couple of laps. You were taking it easy generally, and I had the opportunity to pass you going into the pits, and I didn't take it, and to this day I still regret that.
You'll have to wait for another opportunity.
Another one.
So anyway, Taiwan. So I'll be there for the California Superbike Schools. That's in sort of early mid-December, and then they'll be running the people who run the schools over there. They'll be running a track day the following weekend. So I'll hang around in Taiwan for a week and do the track day there the following weekend, and then it'll be Christmas time. So I'll come back home for Chrissy, and then it all happens quick. Then it will be into January, and then we'll be testing. We'll be testing at Phillip Island, no doubt. But trying to do some track days or something up this way in Queensland, and probably I think the Sydney Night Series is on as well. There's a couple of we'll do a couple of rounds of that series. So there's a bunch coming up, and it's all go really. Even though you'd think it's an off season, but there's actually a fair bit going on. So we'll be pretty busy, I suppose.
Yeah, you're continuing at the Yamaha team, obviously.
Yes, that's my plan right at the moment. Yeah, we'll continue the same again. Stay with YRT, race here and commit to the championship in Australia. Trying to look and see if there's any other possibilities outside of Oz, like the Asia Road Race Championship, and just trying to see if I can find anything else to do outside. Because obviously, we run sort of typically a seven round. I think next year possibly is an 8-round championship. But it would be good to try and spend more time doing racing. I'd like to be able to do that. Because I mean, in between rounds, like we've spoken about, you do a lot of physical training on the bicycle or running, and cross training type things, or going and doing track days and mini moto type things and whatnot. But nothing beats racing, so it would be good if I could try to do some other events and do some other races as well. So a couple of things up in the works at the moment, but nothing set in stone. So the main focus though is to race with Yamaha again next year, like I've done 3 years with them now. First year won the championship, second year I think we might have been 5th, and then this year we were 2nd again. So it's in 3 years we've been sort of able to go close to challenging for the championship. So it's been win a championship and go close to winning one this year. So would like to continue with them. The team are fantastic. I really enjoy riding the bike, and I enjoy working there. It's actually I'm probably enjoying my racing the most right at the moment, riding for Yamaha. The team environment, the people that I'm working with, and just like how competitive the bike is. I just I enjoy riding. I have a really good sensation and feeling with it. It's great to great to go racing on the bike. So yeah, I want to keep that going. So that's the plan for next year.
Yeah, awesome. I like, there's big changes in MotoGP. They're gonna bring out a V4 Yamaha. I can't help but wonder if that's gonna evolve into the new R1 or an R1 being a V4 at some point in time. Do you have any thoughts
Mhm.
about that? Can you talk about that?
Yeah, oh look, I don't know to be honest. I don't know what'll happen. Typically, that's what does happen though, right? The whatever happens in the GP sort of filters down at some point. I mean, the Yamaha that I'm riding has been like this style of bike, this particular model sort of thing has been around. First came out in around 2015, I think it was. So, it's going to be 10 years old essentially, although it's had updates over the years, and it's got another update coming next year with, more aerodynamics and some different bits and pieces on it. But essentially, it's the same style of bike, right? Um, I don't know what Yamaha's plans are to bring a different bike if they have any. I think that it's an interesting one because you always want more. But when I look at it, like the R1, like so, you look at it this year in the championship, like we've got Ducati who are super super strong. We've got BMW, they're a highly like what we've seen in World Superbike. Obviously, they're a very competitive bike, but here in the championship the R1 is a very refined bike and it can still hold its own. You know what I mean? Like the handling of the bike is its strength. Okay, the power and the just outright acceleration doesn't quite match the Ducati, but it can still hold its own. So, and you look to the BSB, like it won, Yamaha won the championship in the BSB. It's competitive in Moto America. So, I mean, as a production bike in the domestic championships, it's still a competitive bike and can win championships. So, as much as you sort of want something new and that type of thing, then at the same time, the level of refinement with the bike is really high. So it can still be really really good and really competitive. So I can't really say that we need a new bike as such, like to be able to challenge and win or go better. Um, yeah. So I don't know. I don't know what Yamaha has in plan. What their plans are for bringing out a new bike as such. I think that it's probably tough because the market's changed. I think quite a bit. I see that like that Yamaha's just brought out their new model Yamaha R9.
All that.
Yeah, so they've got their R3, R7, R9 models. And what I think about those style of bikes is that they're kind of like the ideal street bike because the engine like the R9 is it's a twin cylinder engine, so it's got a lot of torque. It's very usable on the street, but then you could also take it and use it at the track too. You know what I mean?
You rode it at the track, didn't you? At that release just recently.
Yeah, that's right. That's what I'm saying. Like having the experience of riding that bike, like to me, it's the ideal and perfect bike for people who are riding the street because when you look at like an R1, it's a track only bike really. I mean, like the things are so fast now. They're just so quick and not super practical in the street. So I think that if they're gonna make if Yamaha were looking to bring out a new model R1, well, it's probably going to be a track only sort of version. You know what I mean? Because that's really where it's own. It's that's where its place is, right? Whereas the way that they've got it at the moment, like I said, we're bringing out this new R9. That's kind of definitely more gonna be better aimed at their target market in the road, street audience. So. Yeah, I don't know what they're going to do about a track bike. I don't know if it's worth. You know what I mean? Is it worth developing a whole new bike? Just
Yeah.
for track racing? I'm not sure. Yeah. So and it's hard. Like I said, the only reason is because it's not like this bike is bad. You know what I mean? It's actually really good and super competitive. So why not just keep using that if it's doing a good job?
Yeah, it's a tricky one. It's like, do you take what you spend and invest on MotoGP, which is where they're going, and
Yeah.
transfer that into road? But I know the numbers are always small in the thousands. They don't sell a lot of thousands, compared to normal bikes.
No.
Sell a lot more of the smaller bikes and that. So,
Yeah.
but I also wonder if it's more, like in Britain, they won the championship there. Man, I watched that final round. It was amazing.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
the different type of track that seems to me they're more technical, they're more suited to the Yamaha. Whereas here you get on the bend and Phillip Island and, the V4Rs just seem to have the
Yeah.
benefits from the legs perspective. So
Yeah.
interesting. It'd be interesting to see. I project, here's my prediction. They're going to have a V4.
Yeah. 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 Oh, well, I mean, like,
I don't
yeah,
know. I'm just making that up, by the way.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's fact. Hey, it's straight. That's on the podcast. It's fact.
Well, if it's on TikTok, it's fact.
That's right. Yeah, yeah. I don't know. Well, time will tell, I suppose. We'll see.
Well, listen, mate. I just want to say thank you for the whole year. You've come along. Well, I think we only missed round 5, but we caught up on all the rest of them. So thanks for making the time available. I know people, get a ton out of it. The words of wisdom that come out of your mouth are great for all of us. We all pick up something from that. But also thanks for your humility and the way that you analyze and you're so open about the way you ride and things you're thinking about. So really appreciate it. So I'm super grateful just for have the opportunity, mate.
Yeah, I appreciate it too. I mean, it's a good opportunity for me to connect with some of the fans. I know that people are pretty keen to listen. So to give a bit more of a detailed kind of analysis at the end of the weekend, and that helps rather than you just for your generic kind of interviews that you get during a weekend. So people get to know a little bit more about me and what I'm thinking and how I operate. So that's really cool too. But I've thoroughly enjoyed it. It's been great, and it's been a pretty awesome year. So thanks so much for having us on, and thanks to everyone that's listened. I hope you've enjoyed it as well, and I'm sure we'll have to work out a plan for what we'll do next year.